You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Smirnoff knows there's no I in football. Football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together with good drinks and good people. Smirnoff is the world's #1 vodka and is an official vodka partner of the NFL. And this year, Smirnoff is giving fans in select areas of the country a chance to win the ultimate game day experience. From tickets to sideline passes and much more, just head to WeDoGameDays.com until November 15, 2024 to enter for your chance to win. That's WeDoGameDays.com. Smirnoff, we do game days.
Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff number 21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol by volume. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. No purchase necessary. 21 plus. Ends November 15, 2024. See rules at website for participating area and other important details. Sponsored by Diageo Americas Inc., New York, New York.
Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Welcome to the Hockey Show. My name is Roy Bellamy. David Dwork of the Hockey News is to my left. To my right, for some strange reason, is Izzy Gutierrez. Wow, hello, Izzy.
Quite the intro. I feel so welcomed here. But
welcome to the table.
Welcome to the hockey comedian.
I had way too many. You are the hockey comedian.
Hey, hi.
Way too many questions for me to just sit outside the studio. So I just wanted to kind of jump in and ask some hockey questions. I'm kind of a novice hockey fan. Like I am part of the famous group chat that Roy is not a part of.
Android.
And that, yes. Although androids are our friends now. I don't know why we're still separating. I think
because everybody else are haters. That's
fine. We've went past the Jim Crow era of but I guess so anyway, we'll get to my questions later, but just don't mind me for now.
Yeah, well, Ethan will answer all those questions for you in a little bit. We have John Buccigross from the NHL on ESPN as I choke. So let's start off with Snapshots. We started this off last week where we give our hot takes and our wins and L's the week. I don't know why Rose is celebrating in there, but she is. Why are you celebrating about this?
Because you finally are applying an idea that I gave you.
Yeah, this is a Rose production.
It's just her celebrating her slap shots.
Okay, when this doesn't work, we're going to blame you. Basically is what's going to happen.
And there's Optimus Prime.
Thank you. I'm a realist. Hot take, Dave. Take it away.
All right, my first, my only hot take. My hot take this week is of a sucker punch that took place in the Oilers game the other day with the Oilers and
cross-check there.
Yeah.
Boom! Oh!
Or not the Oilers, the Sharks and the Ducks.
Yeah, Sharks and the Ducks.
You got Frank Vetrano. He cross-checked, who is it, with, I can never pronounce his name, Klim
is there, yes,
Klim Kostin.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I should have asked Izzy. But I love it. Like it. My hot take is this is part of hockey. People are going to get pissed off, say fighting shouldn't happen, those sucker punch. Like, how many sports is it where a guy, you could just cold cock a guy in the chin and it's just business as usual?
Well, this didn't look, the reason this didn't look like business as usual, because it didn't look like there was any play going on. It looked like they were approaching the bench and you got a Mighty Duck just cross-checking out of nowhere. And
they're just the Ducks now, by the way.
I'm sorry.
You are furthering my point, Izzy. That's the point, is that there doesn't look like anything special going on. Mm-hmm. And then you out of nowhere have this very violent act. And then we just go on with our lives. Like maybe he goes and sits in the penalty box for 2 minutes, but nobody's getting suspended. Nobody's getting fined. We're not having a whole segment on SportsCenter about it. This is hockey, and this is why I love hockey. And it might not be the most attractive, best thing for the world, but as I watched that and I thought about it, I'm like, no, this is what makes hockey great.
Well, whenever people were drawing lines for what is allowed in any sport, most sports just drew the line like right down the center. But hockey decided, no, our line's way the hell over here. We're going to allow some dude to just casually elbow somebody else in the face with the official looking at it and saying, I don't know what happened there. Nothing happened there. Just keep moving on.
How many sports does the drawing of blood constitute the severity of a penalty?
I mean, in the park, it's a no blood, no foul kind of rule for basketball sometimes. But I don't think that's actually true. I think in this sport it's probably more true. But the thing that just makes it obvious that they allow so much more is everything that you're talking about that people just get away with. You're just watching a hockey game and somebody else just bops somebody in the nose. It's like, no big deal, just keep moving on. And that part, to me, I kind of like it because we've got all these other sports where everybody is so just pent up. Oh, did you see that Caitlin Clark got hit in the eye? She must have done that on purpose. In hockey, we know they're always doing that shit on purpose.
Yeah, right.
Well, two things. Those were both penalties. That was a cross-check, and that was a rough. But the second thing is these players police themselves. Because if the refs aren't going to call anything like, that cross-check, or any type of stick work, i.e. Sidney Crosby, obviously there's going to have to be a policing on the ice.
That is one of my questions. Don't usurp my questions here. So your hot take being that that's just life in the NHL. You might just catch a left jab to the face and fall down.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it's a hot take in the hockey world, 'cause I think the hockey world agrees with me. But I think sports fans see that, and you start hearing the rabble-rousers about why is hockey like this? No, hockey is awesome. And it's not for everybody.
Sometimes you get punched in the face. Roy, what's your slap?
Please don't do the please like my sports situation. Like, that's inherent. But people like to complain like, I want to celebrate hockey. It's the greatest sport ever. Please like my sport. Like, this is a great sport, folks.
Like it for what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My hot take is the Buffalo Sabres are the most disappointing team in the National Hockey League. Now, people want to say the Colorado Avalanche. People want to say
You're saying the most disappointing team so far this season.
So far this early in the season, it's the Buffalo Sabres. They rehired Lindy Ruff, who was fired in New Jersey, got his job back in Buffalo. But it seems like it hasn't done a thing because this is supposed to be a sleeper team in the Eastern Conference. They're supposed to be at least right now in the middle of the pack of the Atlantic Division, working their way up. That's not happening right now. They're 1-4-1 for
years, though, right?
Yeah, we've been saying that for years. But they're 1-4-1 with 3 points right now. Like, the offense is there. Like, it's the offense and defense and goaltending, complete polar opposites right now.
Yeah. How many games are we talking here?
Right now, they have played 6.
6 games. How many of those games were in Prague? How many of those games were 4,000 miles away from home a long time earlier before the other teams had to start their season? That was a little bit earlier.
Sabres apologizing already?
This is part of why I'm here. I have some Sabres questions.
The true motive of Izzy's visit.
I don't really understand why, but I have a good amount of friends, 3 or 4, who are Buffalo Sabres fans. I guess they're from northern New York, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we were talking before the Panthers and Sabres played recently, and it was just an absolute dejected fan. They had already started off poorly.
It's the one win of the season.
It's their that hadn't happened.
That hadn't happened yet.
It is the longest professional American sports playoff drought, right?
Yes, correct.
13, 14 seasons, somewhere in that realm. I thought, as a Dolphins fan, that I had it bad. This is horrible. And it seems like every time they have a decent player, he goes and wins a cup somewhere else over the last few years. So I'm curious about the Sabres. What is wrong with them? Why can't they pull this together? And this is maybe just my friend talking here, but he is really like a Buffalo fan, and he believes not only that they should, but that they're going to sell the team, especially if they don't make the playoffs this season.
Well, I got some stats for you as far as what this season is looking like. They're the top third of all the teams in scoring so far.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
The second in the league in shot attempts. They lead the league in high danger chances with 88.
Wow.
And the second in the league, they've given up the second most goals in the league so far with 25. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well,
it's the other
side. Their coaches said that their goalies are not the problem.
They've got 2 of the best young goalies in hockey, in UPL and in Devin Levi. They might not be where they're both early 20 guys, I think. So they still have
UPL his initials or his last name?
Yeah, his initials. It's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Wow. That is an amazing name.
You should always say that every single time. Like, you saying UPL is cheating.
176 shots on goal allowed is third most in the league, and they have allowed the most high-danger goals this season with 14. The defense is the problem.
It sounds like exciting hockey.
It does,
except when the losses pile up.
Right. Well, that's why I was confused, because they just trounced the Panthers, and it was their one win. It was feel good, and it feels like might have ridden that wave for a little bit, but I want the team to cheer for. It was an injured
Panther club, though, that they trounced technically.
Sure, but you still got the defending champs coming into your barn.
It's the same Panther team that went 2 days later and beat Boston in their barn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I need a team to cheer for outside of Florida. I need that little team that could, and it feels like the Sabres should be that. More so than just I want my friends to be happy. I don't want the team to move because the fans of Buffalo are so passionate, and this team's been around there for a minute, and it's just like they seem like they're right there, just on the verge, and if they get to the playoffs, it'll just be like this fairy tale, not fairy tale, but it'll definitely be like a happy sort of portion of their franchise because it's just been so hellish lately.
Well, if they fix their defense, maybe they'll be able to climb up there in the standings. But for right now, they are definitely the most disappointing team in the league. Let's go to our wins of the week. I will start. We have ourselves a goalie goal, ladies and gentlemen. Philip Gustafson of the Minnesota Wild ended up scoring, and he made it 4-1. To beat the Blues. I mean, look at this.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
What's the trick of a goalie goal? Is it to get it over all the defensemen and then just obviously on the straight line toward the goal? But that's the trick, is you got to get it over them?
You lifted it over the ice on that one.
Because you don't know if you have a straight line, then you can just fire wire one as hard as you can. Yeah, you got to go down. You got to do the daps on the bench. As if you're a goalie, when you ever get that opportunity? If I had ever scored a goal in my life, which I haven't, I would absolutely.
You're a goalie too, huh?
Oh yeah.
Bonafide.
I would go crazy if I scored a goal. I would celebrate the most exaggerated way. I'd do the Happy Gilmore riding the pony. I would probably go down both benches for high fives and just piss off the other team.
Cliff Ronning.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Awesome on Phil Gustafson. That was really cool to see.
There's two things I love about this goalie goal in particular.
Hey, Ethan.
Hey, I'm here.
Hey, Ethan.
First is this was no cheapie. Like, he caught the puck, he dropped it, went for it, and
from the crease.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely snapped it off. Absolute beauty right in. The second thing is Marc-Andre Fleury has been trying to score a goalie goal his entire career, and he's sitting on the bench telling Gustafson, go for it, go for it, go for it. I know this is his last year. Everybody thinks, like, this is the year he's going to try and do it. This is the year he's going to get it. To watch Gustafson score a goalie goal, and that Gustafson scored before Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews this season was awesome.
That's the most hilarious aspect of this.
What's your winner?
My win of the week came from a game in Calgary the other night. The surprising undefeated Calgary Flames.
Huber dude playing well to start the season.
Huberdeau has looked really cool. So that right there is Nazem Kadri throwing an autographed hat to a Flames fan who was so thrilled to get it. Awesome. He's like, yeah, I got this hat. Yeah. And then the guy next to him is like, oh my God, that's so cool. Nazem Kadri was my favorite player when he was on the Maple Leafs or something. And the guy's like, oh, really? You know what? Here you go.
Wow.
And the guy's like, really? Really?
So the guy who gets the hat's the winner. Is the guy who gave up the hat your loser?
No, everybody's a winner because everybody goes home happy.
Yeah.
These guys didn't know each other. You can't, that's not fake. You can't pretend that the Leafs guy, that Nazem Kadri threw in the hat.
That's pretty cool.
So I think that was really cool. It's an all-around happy moment. It's definitely my win of the week.
Although that guy needs a hat.
All right, the Pharaohs of the week. Who got an L? I will start off with this one. Aleksander Romanov. Big time L. He went in for a hip check on Nathan McKinnon, and Nathan McKinnon saw it coming. Look at this. It attempted hip check.
That was not a hip check. That was booty first.
That is a hip check.
And he went butt straight to the wall.
Look at that. I mean, he went horizontal on him. Yeah, so that's my L of the week. Dave?
My L of the week comes from Madison Square Garden, where poor Utah Hockey Club goaltender Connor Ingram got a taste firsthand of the home ice advantage that is MSG. Ingram's behind the net to play the puck, and the puck takes a direct left-hand turn off the boards into the net.
The ghost of Rangers past.
This hurts as a goalie to watch. This is why I keep my ass in the goal crease most of the time instead of playing the puck. That's what you defensemen are for.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely my L of the week. I feel for you, Connor Ingram. Go score a goal and make up for it.
Roy, you've got 10 seconds to explain to me why you hate Sidney Crosby so much.
Because they shoved him down our throats for the past 20 years.
Hey-o.
Yeah. So that's why I don't like Sidney Crosby.
I did not
More on that later. John Buccigross coming up next.
Howdy, listener. It's Mike Ryan. You probably like football, don't you? You're listening to a sports podcast? How can you not love football? From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineups, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So, what is the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both. From its beautiful color, to that gorgeous white can, to the fact that it's refreshing, to knowing that you're not sacrificing any flavor when you grab America's favorite light beer, the original light beer. Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste at only 96 calories. Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and is less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Don Le Batard.
Kermit the Frog here, live from Middle Media Studios here in Miami.
Stugotz.
The Germans are advancing on France in World War II.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
All right, we are joined by John Buccigross, NHL on ESPN. There's something special that's going to happen next week. It's called NHL Frozen Frenzy, Dave.
I'm excited.
I am too. This is the only time of the year where every single NHL team will play on one night.
I love it.
Yes.
Not just because there's 32 different teams to place wagers on or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's awesome. It's hockey nonstop, and who better to talk about it with than guy I consider basically Mr. Hockey at this point.
That's right. John, you're going to be doing this with Kevin Weeks and PK Subban. That's going to be a fun show just based on those two being there. So that's going to be great. Talk about this Frozen Frenzy and what's going to happen on that night.
Yeah, good to be with you guys. I'm here with my mint Wayne Gretzky rookie card. No big deal.
Protect that.
Got to make sure to protect that. The hockey sticks behind me. One's a Bobby Orr autograph. One's a Pat LaFontaine. And one has Ray Bourque and Patrick Waugh. And, of course, we have the Bucci Overtime Challenge College Hockey Warehouse.
Excuse me, this is off my chin.
This is the most hockey podcast I've ever done here in my basement, my unfinished basement. No, we're excited. I think 2 times a year every team plays, but last year was the first time they did it on a weekday. That's when we did the Frozen Frenzy. So I guess this would be the second time ever that every team plays on a weekday. I think there's one other day they do it like on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very excited. Yeah, Kevin and I, the last year, I know the buildup was strong. And I was nervous because I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be as good as people want it to be. Because the Red Zone channel, there's always a team in the Red Zone. There's a winner, there's a loser. Defense wins. You kick a field goal. You might score a touchdown. The defense holds. They miss a field goal. There's going to be an end to the drama. But for us, I wasn't sure. But sure enough, right off the bat, from 6 o'clock on, 6:15 on, stuff just kept happening. Mm-hmm. It was really a great night. And subsequently, every time I would go to call a game, because when you have a studio show, or even you guys with a podcast, you get kind of insulated. You don't know what people really think about your show. You get some reaction on Twitter and emails, but until you go out there, you don't really know. So subsequently, when I would go call games, which I do a few a month, I mean, the positive feedback was unbelievable. You're not used to that at ESPN, getting positive feedback.
Oh, no, absolutely not. We got fired for crying out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
Experience in that department.
He gone. So it was nice to get some pats on the back for once. That was different. That was, you're always on a defensive mode. Yeah. When you work for the big Goliath. So that was great. So yeah, we're looking forward to do it again. And hopefully we have the same kind of situation where the Stars are scoring and there's an overtime goal and there's things like that. So another long night on Tuesday, and we hope we can, and the players and the games can sell it and make it a great night.
Yeah, but Bucci, this needs to be later in the season. This needs to be in April.
Yeah, I think we were going to do it again in April last year. But then it just didn't. For some reason, it didn't happen. But you're right. When people are chasing milestones and contract thresholds and history, especially this year with Ovechkin, possibly if he's at 39, if he's at 39 goals and he's 3 away in April, that could be, that could happen one night. So yeah, so we'll see. It was so successful. I'm surprised, we didn't do it again. I think as long as you have probably 12 games, it's enough. You don't need 16. But you probably need about 12, and then you need a little bit of staggered starts from the league. But, I don't know if every owner wants a staggered start more than once a year. They like their start times. So it ain't easy, but I'm glad they're able to pull it off again.
I got to ask you, just as, well, I was going to say broadcaster to broadcaster, but my play-by-play experience is very limited. But still, my brain is thinking, how do you prepare for, because where I'm coming from. You prepare for a game. You have your stat sheets. You go in.
Fun,
You know exactly. I've got these 30 guys. These players to worry about on each team. Now you've got to do the entire league in one setting. Like, how do you prepare for that? Are you just going off the dome most of your knowledge? Like, that's where my brain is. Like, how do you go into that? Like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, I tell people the way you prepare for hosting a Frozen Frenzy is to watch just about every game for 20 years. That's how you.
Okay, cool.
You don't cram. You want to be able to throw in a historical reference. You want to know the league. You want to grow up with the players, where they went to college, how their career has ebbed and flowed. But no, for sure though, these next, I get an email sent to me every morning. It's every article written on every team and really just about any place you can find it. The local newspaper, a blog, The Athletic, beat writers. Just if there's an article about the Florida Panthers, this email finds it and it puts alphabetical order. So I've started like reading every one. Normally I'll focus on my next game, like you talked about. My next game is next week. I got Nashville at Chicago. So I'll definitely every day read every article about Nashville and Chicago. I might skim the other ones. I might look at the headline just to keep, get a general idea. And then my next game after that is Halloween. It's Edmonton at Nashville. So that's kind of in the back of my mind. So you kind of do that. But now with the Frenzy on Tuesday, I'll start reading just about every article on every team just to make sure, okay, Sean Durzee's out for a few months for Utah. They're off to a good start, but that could affect them. You start looking at injuries and you start looking at things like that. And so you have an idea, a capsule of each team in your head that you can go to. Because, again, this is non-scripted. You know who's going to score. You have to have an idea on that guy and that team if that becomes the focus now. Because you just don't know what's going to be the focus. But I like that. I like not being scripted, going off the cuff, kind of showing off a little bit, riffing, jazz. The best musicians, obviously, are the ones that can just riff and pick it up and just go from nowhere. And that's what I like, this kind of format and this kind of television. That's the most fun for me. The heavily scripted SportsCenter show isn't as exciting for me anymore. It's just right down to the second. You got to get done because here comes the other video. Here comes this element. So this is more fun for me.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of leads me right into my next question was after last year and experiencing it for the first time, now that you kind of know what you're going into, does that give you like that much more excitement? Does it raise the excitement level? Just kind of knowing like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm excited. As you just kind of said, this is my kind of broadcast now. Like, how much are you looking forward to it? Just knowing, I guess, what to expect this time around.
Yeah, no, I think last year would have been more thrilling because you didn't know. And there was this, like, you were afraid that, could we pull this off? I knew I could do it. That's the easy part. I watch every game every night pretty much anyway. It's just a pain in the butt with streaming going in and out. Luckily, I don't have to do that at ESPN. The director can do it for me, go from game to game. Normally, though, I'm coming out and coming in. That's a pain in the butt. As we know, cable TV is better for sports than streaming is. So that's why people get multiple TVs. I'm starting to realize that I need to get 3 TVs because you can't switch around for sports in the streaming world. But so last year was, I think, more thrilling because I was a little nervous. I have to be in ESPN for 28 years. And being in the business now for 36, you don't get nervous a lot. You pretty much understand how it's going to go. So it was fun last year being nervous and being up on the tightrope a bit. So now we get an idea. Now the only reason why I might be nervous, again, just to make sure that the games are good. The action is continuous. The big time players are scoring. We have maybe we have the penalty shot we can go to. A 5-on-3 involving a superstar, team, a high level team. So a team going for a hat trick. So yeah, you root for theater at this point. We can't control that. We just can control our knowledge and then obviously trying to go to the right game at the right time and maybe getting a good guest. We book a player who played an early game who might be watching the Frozen Frenzy. I talked to Tkachuk last year and he said Matthew went right home after his game and watched it. He's one of those hockey nerds who watches hockey like McDavid, like Crosby. Some players go home and they watch Netflix, but some players just keep watching hockey. They're like us. They consume it 24/7. So that'd be cool maybe to talk to a guy like that who's watching the Frenzy and get his feedback.
All right, let's talk about what's been happening so far in this season, very early here in this season. Last time we had you on the show, we talked about the life and career of both Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau on Tuesday.
Right, yep.
The Blue Jackets memorialized Johnny and Matthew against the Panthers in their home opener. Why don't you go over how both teams handled that night?
Yeah, that was just a beautiful moment, man. I tend to kind of delay my mourning. I think we talked about that day, whether it's, my own father or an uncle who's real close or a relative. I'm usually I kind of freeze my emotions, and all suddenly 3 months later, out of nowhere, I'll just be driving on the highway and I start to cry, just thinking about whoever it is. And, my dad's death hit me just, like I said, 3-4 months after he died. That when they did that 13-second delay at the start, of course, the players, I love how, for whatever reason, they wear the jersey. Everyone wears the same jersey during the warm up. And that's really, really cool how they do that. I'm sure for each player, that's going to be one of their favorite keepsakes that they get framed. And to see the visiting team also do it is just an amazing touch. Same thing. I'm sure every one of those players will get that jersey framed, and that'll be part of their own personal memorabilia collection. Just an unbelievable touch. And but the 13 seconds there, I really got filled with emotion seeing that. I don't know why. It just really got me. Again, I never know when my morning switch is, I never know when it's going to show up. And then I saw later the banner being raised to the Coldplay song, Sky Full of Stars, which is one of my favorite songs. It's just a beautiful song. And to see to see the widow there, just so strong, and she has just a nice countenance. But then when they show the mom and the dad and the sisters there, I just, oh, my heart, his dad, man, I can't even watch that now. It's just that the life is gone from him. And so, just so powerful. And I just hope that family can find strength. And I know his dad is just really having a hard time with this, and the whole family. So, but I'm sure they love to feel that, and to see your boy memorialized and talked about that way. As a parent, there is nothing better. When people give my adult children now compliments, like, your daughter's a rock star. Your son could not be nicer. My goodness, nothing makes you feel better as a person, as a parent, when you hear that. And luckily I've heard that a lot from my kids throughout the years. So just amazing emotion. I think that's why I love the sport. I love the sport because I'm an emotional person. It's an emotional sport, whether they're having fun, whether they're crying, whether there's a little bit of violence, whether there's a little bit of competitiveness, like, it's all there. The human crock pot of emotion is hockey. And that's why I've slowly, I loved everything as a kid, but as I got older, I keep getting drawn to hockey because of the emotion of the sport.
You mentioned the opening face-off where they took off 13 seconds off the clock. And the fact of the matter is the Blue Jackets left the left wing position open on that opening face-off for Johnny. Like, that spot right there is always going to belong to him. That one is what got to me. It's like
I'm saying that's the moment that got me, Roy, right there. That's when I started to cry looking at that. I don't know why. Like, it's, why didn't something else do that? Why didn't a headline? Yeah. But it was almost like he's a ghost, right? It's almost like he was there, and it was like a ghost. And that was probably part of it. It probably almost made me a little bit afraid. I almost, like, just really thinking about that part of it. You think about death. You think about mortality. You think about, does our life matter? What happens when we die? Does our spirit live on? Can we impact the people we love after we pass away? All these things. So it gets heavy, man. And so, you kind of get that emotion. But I love that. That's life. It's an amazing life. We're grateful every day we wake up and are breathing, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. But I agree. That's the moment that got me.
It's another example of the hockey community. Once something like this happens, whether it's happy or sad, a celebration or tragedy, the hockey community really gets together and it celebrates and mourns together.
It's a family.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I said, and that's the emotional bond. And it's a sport of, especially those who play, it's like, it's taking the kids to the rink, it's tying their skates, it's mom and dad helping out. It's a sport that requires sacrifice to get up early. Not every parent wants to do that, but most of them do for their kid. It's an addicting sport. Once you start skating, there's nothing like skating. We've talked about it before. I've gone to a frozen pond when I grew up as a kid and would be there like for 8 hours. Like, can you think of anything you would do for 8 straight hours? But when you skate and you have a puck and you're on a frozen pond, time just disappears and you can't stop. It just, I don't shoot basketball for 8 hours or play baseball for 8 hours or wiffle, but I would be out there forever. And so that's the kind of sport it is. So they definitely come together in many ways, and that's the good part. And it's a great to be so I always say it's made my life better in many ways, hockey. The people that I've met and my job, it's helped educate my kids. It helped me pay my mortgage every month from my house. The sport has been great, and it's enhanced and enriched my life.
A couple of hockey-related things that brought a smile to my face recently. I wanted to share them with you, John. We got a couple of photos. One of them is of the Rangers' newest banners hanging at Madison Square Garden. They put up one that we all love. It says regular season champions. I don't know why. I feel like they pulled a page from the Nashville book. So that's one of them. The second one was a billboard that has been popping up in different places, I think, around Arizona and the Phoenix area, advertising the Utah Hockey Club on local Arizona TV. That also brought a smile to my face, although probably not so much for the former Coyotes fans. So I just kind of wanted to share those with you, John, and see if they made you smile the way they made me smile.
Yeah, I'm surprised the Rangers regular season, just like but didn't the Indianapolis Colts do that recently? They had some sort of banner the Patriots fans made fun of, but yeah, that's surprising that they would do that. But again, it's as opposed to President's.
Well, right? Why not just say President's Trophy?
That's what most teams do, right? Who win the prize? Because that's a great accomplishment. It's almost a bigger accomplishment than winning the playoff series. That's because that's over 82 games. That's long-term consistency and excellence. So I guess them regular season champ sounds better. It almost sounds like a title. I think there is a bonus, so I think they get a little bit of cash for that. So there is some sort of prize.
It's a bonus banner.
The bonus banner.
It's the bonus banner. Yeah, and for Utah, I know Arizona's bummed. The hardcore fan there, and even I think post-mortem, they're like some fans like, oh yeah, I guess I did appreciate having a hockey team here. But they will. I think we all know they'll get the next expansion team for sure once they get the owner and the arena set first. That's probably the way it always should have been done. But they'll be back there at some point. And but for now, anyway, the league is better being in Utah and the revenue, the excitement. And now we'll see if that team off to a good start. Again, some injuries on defense. It'd be nice to see them do well and maybe make the postseason. But yeah, they'll be back in Arizona. It's too big of a market, too big of a growing market not to be there.
I believe that Colts banner is called the AFC runner-up.
God,
that's even worse.
Yeah,
actually,
that's bad.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's real bad.
The Buffalo Sabres, to me, are it's just a complete and utter disappointment.
Stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, granted, overseas, they got off to a rough start against the Devils, but it just hasn't clicked for them at all. What is going on in Buffalo? It seems like Lindy Ruff's hiring has not made a difference.
No, it hasn't at all yet. Maybe he'll need 2-3 months because, again, training camp is so short. The players come in elite shape, so you don't need to get in shape anymore. And then some of the preseason games, some big players play, and then a bunch of American League players play, so you can't judge either. The NHL player just doesn't want to get hurt, doesn't want to get hit by some guy looking to get attention. You can't judge these guys when it's a bunch of AHLers, American Leaguers, against National Hockey League. So, they need to do a better job on, okay, are we all going to play AHLers or are we all going to play NHLers? So we can really get ready for this. So we can really implement our systems. We can't work on our system if the other team is full of minor leaguers. It's not going to do us any good. Mm-hmm. So it could take a month or two for these teams. But as we know, come Thanksgiving, December 1st, if you're 10 points in the hole, very likely you will not be able to come back. You can't make up in the 3-point games down the stretch where teams can tie their way to the playoffs. It's hard to come back. So no, I think the Sabres are still really young. And they actually keep getting younger when they trade Oposo, when Girgensons goes to Tampa Bay, then they get younger. And the thing is, if Dahlin and Tuck and Tage Thompson, who would now be considered a veteran, if those guys aren't going to pop early, now you're dependent on these 20. These guys are Peterka and these guys and Quinn, they're 19, 20, 21. You don't win with those guys. So unless you get carried by the vets they have, the impact vets they have, ain't going to happen. Again, Owen Power's still a baby. The goalies are okay. So they're still just really young. It's hard to win young. So, they could still be 3 years away. And luckily, they do have all these guys wrapped up like Dahlin and Power and Thompson. So they can't go anywhere. They can't walk because the situation isn't good unless they demand a trade. So hopefully then by then, when Peterka and Quinn and these high-level guys become 24, then you're ready to go. But yeah, in the meantime, they just might be still too young.
So out west, a couple surprises for me. One at the top of the standings, two at the bottom of the standings. I wanted to get your take on which one you think is the most surprising. First, you've got the Calgary Flames, 4-0-0, top of the Western Conference. Jonathan Huberdeau looking like the guy that got traded from Florida, not the guy that got traded to Calgary.
That's a great description.
And great on him. And then you've got at the bottom the Avalanche and the Nashville Predators, both probably playoff team predicted, both 0-4 to start the year.
Yeah.
What surprises you the most out of that, John?
Yeah, probably Calgary, because again, we just didn't see that coming. Good for Huberdeau. He was just heartbroken after the trade. He was just gutted. I remember talking to him at the Las Vegas Players Tour when the league sends one player from each team to Vegas, and we get to interview them to have a lot of stuff on tape, a lot of stuff we can use for the year for features, and he was just gutted. And so I'm not surprised he really, really has struggled there. But you reach a point, well, I got to go. Life is short. Let's don't just waste this away. Let's make the best of it. And so, yeah, a little bit of surprise. But again, remember we saw the Sabres a few years back with Eichel. They were like, 10-1, or they were after, and then they didn't make the playoffs. So, and I don't think they'll make the playoffs. But, Colorado still, they're $27 million on the injured list or the suspended list. Nichushkin, I think, is eligible like November 13th. But so, they're all hurt. Lehkonen and Drouin and Logan O'Connor really isn't ready yet after his hip surgery. So they're just, and then you have a goaltender who just has been average, and Georgiev is. So you have soft goaltending, kind of like Buffalo, and then other stuff is happening. Buffalo's young, the Stars aren't producing. Dahlin's off to a slow start. Colorado, everyone's hurt, and then the goalie's average. Then that can happen. Nashville, I just, they seem a little disjointed and old and slow. They don't seem to make sense. You wonder with the power play when they have Forsberg and Stamkos, who plays the one-timer. Obviously, it's going to be Stamkos to start. We'll see what Forsberg, if he can make that work, but it doesn't always work when you throw stuff together. You go back to the Korea Solani, when Colorado brought him in to try to relive some of that Mad Duck magic. It didn't work. You thought it would work, but it didn't. And sometimes it doesn't. And so, again, but Andrew Burnett may need time to figure this out. They're a defensive disaster right now. And so we'll see. Again, then that's a team that's kind of old, and they're young. A couple primetime guys like Forsberg, but they have younger guys, and then they have the older guys that were, mid-30s. And so it can take time. So I would give this, give everybody really a good 10, 15 games, because certainly, these teams can win 3-4 in a row, and Edmonton got a little bit better in Nashville as well. But again, Edmonton's an older team. So it's, a little surprises to start, but we got to give this another couple of weeks. That's what's good about Frozen Frenzy again. So we'll give one more long weekend here, and then we can kind of dive in and let's see, kind of who are you worried about and who aren't you worried about. We can maybe throw some of those segments in the midst of the show, as maybe a couple games go in between periods, and there's only one game going on, and we can do some of the other stuff while we keep an eye on the other game. So it'll be a fun night just to talk hockey for 4, 5, 6 hours, the kind of the issues you're talking about now.
All right, Bucci, give the times and the channel info for Frozen Frenzy coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think we're starting like right around 6:30. ESPN's also broadcasting a triple header, so we'll have our own games on ESPN proper. We're on ESPN2 the whole night. I think we're also streaming, so that for people who are out streaming or don't have any really conventional cable or any kind of Fubo or YouTube TV, and they just do their own apps. We're still on Plus as well. So, but mainly, ESPN2 right around dinner time. You may have to miss the wheel and miss the Jeopardy, or you can watch and flick back and forth.
That's what DVR's for.
Yeah,
exactly. Me and mom has to watch her, Wheel and Jeopardy every night. So I understand if I might get the kibosh for an hour while she does that here at home in Plymouth. So, so basically ESPN2 and hockey all night long. So, not that red zone stuff where, there might be 5 or 6 games going on. I think at one point there's like 9 or 10. So Hansen can just relax a little bit. This is the big leagues we're talking about here.
John Bucci has been thrown. Yeah, there it is. John Buccigross, get back down here. We need to have drinks when I'm not dry.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks for joining us.
Good, brother. Can't wait. Peace.
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is sponsored by BetterHelp.
What's something that scares you? Halloween is all about having fun with what scares us. But what about those fears that don't show up in costume? Like fear of failure, rejection, or change. Therapy can be a powerful tool for facing fears that we just can't laugh off. It helps us build positive coping skills, set boundaries, and become the best versions of ourselves. It's not just for those who've experienced trauma. Sometimes the scariest thing is holding ourselves back by avoiding what we're really afraid of. So this Halloween, why not think about facing your fears? Not the ones dressed as monsters, but the ones that keep you from moving forward. Therapy might be just the place to start. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/DLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DLB.
Folks, listen up. It promises to be a month of tricks, treats, and of course, touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is the #1 place to bet on touchdowns. New to DraftKings? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score a touchdown. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Here's the reason for new customers to do a touchdown dance of their own. Bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code DAN. That's code DAN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/FTBall.
Dan Le Batard. We're gonna win. Stugotz. We're gonna win.
They're annoying. What an old reference.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
All right, time for a quick Panthers recap. We're going to go over from Saturday to last night. The Panthers went 2-1-1 since Saturday. It was a bad loss in Buffalo, Dave.
Yeah, it was rough. It was the first game that they were playing without Sasha Barkov and Matthew Tkachuk. Barkov with the lower body injury in Ottawa. Tkachuk sick. Panthers did not look good at all. The previously winless Sabres looked really good against the Panthers. They have yet to look good since. Yeah. But the Panthers got their bleep together when they left Buffalo, and they've gotten acclimated to playing without a couple of their stars.
Why don't you go over Spencer Knight's actual performance on Saturday?
It was rough. I mean, to be fair, nobody really played that well beyond Spencer Knight. The defense wasn't that good in front of him, but he gave up a couple of goals that he'd want back. He did seem to get a little bit stronger as the game went on. Fortunately, he got another start a couple of days later that we're going to get to in a second, and he's kind of continued to look a little bit better and better, and I think that's really the key with Spencer Knight at this point is just stable consistency.
Well, it's his first start since he entered the Players Assistance Program in 2023, and not exactly the greatest of starts, but yes, he did. He got his shit together later in the week. Izzy, you got any thoughts on what happened to Spencer Knight or anything that happened so far?
I do have a question on Spencer Knight. Is he still considered this prospect that's supposed to build into something great? Is this why we're still saying his name during the anthem?
Yes, he had the weight on his shoulders being the next one once Sergei Bobrovsky eventually leaves the team.
And it's still there. That weight, you can see it on his shoulders, or are we just sort of backing off and saying, hey, he might be something, he might not?
I think the weight was kind of lifted. That's why he left the team, was he was having like the issues with OCD. He needed to step away and kind of, chill himself out a bit. And I think that's where he is now. I think now the question that you're asking, is he the goalie of the future, is going to be answered this season. I think that's kind of what we're going to learn is, okay, last year he came back. He spent the year in the AHL. He definitely looked really good at the second half of the year down the stretch. He got like several shutouts in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. So is he going to be able to continue on that path of success in the NHL this year? That's what we're going to learn over the next few months.
Yeah, got to get that NHL Rick Rust off of him. And I think technically he really actually did. Let's go to Monday against the Boston Bruins in Boston. They are living rent-free in the Bruins' heads right now. I'm talking about like 15 bedrooms. Like there's an ottoman in there.
That was a fun afternoon game of hockey. There was so much hatred in that game, but everybody, for some reason, I was smiling throughout all of it. Like to get that level of hatred between two rivals that early in the season, frankly, that early in the day on Indigenous Peoples Day, like it just goes to show you that's a rivalry. I mean, I think that the Panthers have a couple of them, but really the Bruins are the one. That's the one just get everybody riled up, and I just love it.
Yeah, Ethan, and during the offseason, the Bruins got bigger. They really gained weight. They got taller, and they got slower.
Yeah, I think they are kind of doing what the Panthers did for the Lightning, right? Like the Panthers kept getting beat up by the Lightning, and they're like, we need Matthew Tkachuk, a power forward, to come in and kind of make us tougher. The Bruins are looking at it the past two seasons and saying, wow, we got our ass kicked by these guys, especially last year. I mean, that was such a physical series. And I think the biggest problem the Bruins have right now against the Panthers is they're trying to settle old scores that have already been settled.
Yes.
Right? The Panthers came back from 3-1 2 years ago, went to the Stanley Cup final. Panthers kicked their ass in 6 games last year, went to the Stanley Cup final, won the Stanley Cup. That's over. That's settled. there's a rivalry now, but it still feels like the Bruins are trying to exercise demons from that last season. And yeah, Roy, they did get physical. They did get more physical, but they also got slower. Yeah. And Jim Montgomery said after the first game of the season, like, we looked slow tonight. You look slow because your team is slow. It wasn't just a one-time, one-off thing possibly. And the Panthers, as physical as they are not slow. They fly around. They forecheck like crazy. Yeah. And I just think that right now, not only is it a rivalry, it's a mismatch. The Panthers have their number. And the biggest sign that the Panthers have arrived is Bruin fans are tweeting about Panther games when they're not playing. No. And being mad about the Panthers and saying that Torrey DeBrusque is a true Panther because he's sending or a true Bruin at heart because he's sending shots at Sam Reinhart. So
Jake, wow.
Yeah. Can it be a rivalry and overwhelmingly one-sided now? Can that be a thing?
Well, that was really kind of the question about that was the question with the Lightning, right? The Lightning owned the Panthers for a few years, and it was like, well, this is finally a rivalry. They played in the playoffs, but they beat them twice in the playoffs, and then finally, I think now you can say...
So a decade from now, it's going to feel really good when the Bruins finally beat the Panthers again.
Right. I think to be a true rivalry, you got to beat each other at least once in the playoffs to really be like...
Yeah, well, that's the 2 playoff series really turned everything up a notch with these teams.
The most impressive game to me of the week was the next one when they went into Columbus after that ceremony that you guys talked to Bucci about.
Yeah.
And held on to win that. Actually came back to win that game. That was pretty impressive, even though I didn't have eyes on it.
No, and the guy that Roy was talking about, Spencer Knight, was a big part of that because Spencer Knight was lights out in the second half of that game, especially in the third period.
Such an emotional game.
But yeah, that was a hard game for everybody to play on both sides.
I noticed in that game that there were no scrums.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Not a single ounce of a scrum. No animosity or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sam Reinhart has been pretty big so far last week. I can tell you that right now. He's second in the league in scoring.
I know Reinhart's the focus because he's doing the scoring right now, but can we talk about Baby Barkey?
Yeah.
Lundell and how huge he's been stepping up into that 1C role with Barkov out and with Tkachuk out as well. Like, he's looking like the guy everybody has thought he was going to be and the future of the team in a way, in terms of, I was talking to Roy today, like, do we see Lundell in the future as the 2C of this team rather than Sam Bennett?
Well, you can't break that line up with Tkachuk being on the second line because of that chemistry and the fact that everybody, especially the Boston Bruins, are, they really want to punch them in the face with gloves on, basically.
Yeah, but I don't think you need to put a label on centers, though. Like, you need to have a 1A, 1B, 1C, you know what I mean? Like, I think part of why Florida is as formidable as they are is because they're so strong down the middle. Yeah. So I don't think you're looking at Lundell as like, oh, he's a potential replacement for Sam Bennett. I think you're looking at it like, we have 3 sick, really good centers. That's why they want to keep Sam Bennett, because you take that away, even if you're trying to replace him, Sam Bennett has been such a great fit on this team. So you got 3 boom, boom, boom centers down the middle. Like, I'd want to keep that intact as long as possible.
It's Bennett's been Lundell's only 20, just turned 20.
Right?
Yeah.
Not just his experience, but his playoff experience.
Yeah,
like,
it's amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's like Aleksander Barkov's barely 30. But he's been here forever.
Yeah.
And Bennett's been awesome too this year, and he's just showing that Zito's got to lock this guy up. Like, he is so important to this team in terms of the attitude of the team, in terms of bringing that depth as well. And if you're talking about Lundell for, he signed for 6 years or whatever.
He signed through the end of the decade.
Yeah. If you're talking about him as your 3C, like, that's really as good as it gets.
I mean, best third center in the league.
And last night versus the Vancouver Canucks, the Panthers lost in overtime, which sucks because I lost out on $280. That was not good. But what good things that actually did come out of this game. Jesper Boquist got his first goal as a Panther, and a big milestone for Mackie Samoskevich, his first NHL point.
Yeah, Mackey's been great building his game as we've watched over the first handful of games here. But it's nice for the Panthers to at least pick up a point on home ice. I did feel for you. That was a rough loss when all they had to do was win the game.
Yep.
But no, I think considering the injuries, a solid start for the Panthers.
Yeah, but I do want to point something out because this one actually was quintessential to the Panthers' loss. It was off a face-off, and we do have a video on this. This is Nils Aman. Apparently, the linesman dropped the puck. The puck hit his glove. Because it wasn't an actual intended pass to Quinn Hughes, it was not a hand pass. See, in this video, linesman drops the puck on his glove. It goes immediately to the right, and it's played by the Canucks. It goes back to the point. Quinn Hughes gets the puck, skates forward towards the faceoff circle, and fires a slap shot and gets a goal on that one.
And that's legal.
The lead said that it wasn't a hand pass; it was more of a deflection, and that's why the play was allowed to stand.
See, now what I want to know is why wasn't it a face-off violation and redone
You can't
by
win a face-off using your glove.
You can't.
You cannot.
You cannot.
You cannot win a face-off with your glove, which, I mean, it was... See, that's the thing. The ref threw it off his glove, so it's not like it was a very weird, murky thing. I completely understand why Florida challenged it. And I guess you could have seen it going either way, but to me, it seems like it went off the glove. There was no player intervention until after the official dropped it, so...
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They lost that game in overtime, right? The Panthers did. So
no, it does matter because it led to it was 2-1 when that goal was scored by Quinn Hughes, correct?
I think that's what made it 2-1.
Yes, that's what gave the Canucks the lead on that one.
No, but what I'm saying, Roy, is that what I've learned from listening to the Dan Le Batard show with Stugotz is that when you lose in overtime, the game just disappears.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't even matter.
Ultimately, it was irrelevant.
Ultimately. And the other question that I have is face-off violation is not reviewable, apparently, huh?
I did not know that. Learned something new.
I guess so, because that's the verbiage I would have went with if I was Paul Maurice or anybody on the video crew.
That's the question, is did they use the wrong verbiage? Because as we know in the NFL, if you don't say, if you say, I'm reviewing the spot as opposed to I'm reviewing for the first down, you say it differently, they review different things, so you can still win your challenge and lose the play. So, yeah, I wonder if it had anything to do with the way it was conveyed to the refs.
Yeah. The Panthers play the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow. Vegas currently 3-2-0 and second in the Pacific Division, coming off of a 4-3 loss to Tampa last night, so they are not happy.
No, but these teams don't like each other anyway. They've got their Stanley Cup history, and I don't know, Vegas, they got a bit of a new look this year. They got rid of Jonathan Marchessault.
Oh, that was a big loss.
Curious if our old buddy in net from our Stanley Cup final MVP, Aiden Hill, is going to look like he did in that final, which he really hasn't yet.
Chop somebody at the knees.
So it should be a fun one. I'm looking forward to seeing the Golden Knights come to town.
You have any closing thoughts, Izzy?
I have none.
That is the hockey show for this week. There will not be a show next week. Apparently, Dave has something wrong with his eye, so he's going in for an eye procedure.
This feels like unnecessary information.
Well, I gotta create an excuse for why there won't be a show next week.
Can you just wear an eye patch?
Howdy, listener. It's Mike Ryan. You probably like football, don't you? You're listening to a sports podcast. How can you not love football? From defending your favorite team after a bad loss to obsessively checking your fantasy lineups, football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. Miller Lite knows the passion that comes with rooting for your team, like the debate that sparked in 1975. Great taste versus less filling. So, what is the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both. From its beautiful color, to that gorgeous white can, to the fact that it's refreshing, to knowing that you're not sacrificing any flavor when you grab America's favorite light beer, the original light beer. Miller Lite keeps it simple. Undebatable quality, great taste at only 96 calories. Make your game time taste like Miller time. Tastes great and is less filling. Let it be both. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/Dan. Or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
The Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is sponsored by BetterHelp.
What's something that scares you? Halloween is all about having fun with what scares us. But what about those fears that don't show up in costume? Like fear of failure, rejection, or change. Therapy can be a powerful tool for facing fears that we just can't laugh off. It helps us build positive coping skills, set boundaries, and become the best versions of ourselves. It's not just for those who've experienced trauma. Sometimes the scariest thing is holding ourselves back by avoiding what we're really afraid of. So this Halloween, why not think about facing your fears? Not the ones dressed as monsters, but the ones that keep you from moving forward. Therapy might be just the place to start. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/DLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DLB.